Hello, dear friends. Welcome you all again in the series of English Literature MCQs. And today we have session 5 based on English Literature MCQs. In this session, we'll cover 100 MCQs. So let's start our today's session. MCQ number 401. Which of the following became the most popular romantic poetic form following on Wordsworth's claim that poetic inspiration is contained with the inner feelings of the individual poet, is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Answer: the lyric poem written in the first person. Which poet asserted in practice and theory the value of representing rustic life and language as well as social outcasts and delinquents, not only in pastoral poetry common before this poet's time, but also is the major subject and medium for poetry in general. Answer is William Wordsworth. 403. Which is the term we now use for what the Romantics called mesmerism, one of the occult practices that allowed people to explore altered states of consciousness. Answer: hypnotism. Hypnotism, sorry. Question number 4. Which of the following best describes the sort of language and tone most often used when romantic writers discuss the French Revolution? Answer: biblical reverence. 405. Which of the following periodical publications, reviews, and magazines appeared in the Romantic era? Answer: London Magazine and the Edinburgh Review. 406. According to a Sater Licensing Act repealed in 1843, what was meant by legitimate drama? Answer: the play was spoken. 407. Given the popularity of the Gothic novel and the novel of purpose, which of the following novelists wrote fiction that is closer in subject matter to the novel of manners than it is to the writing of her own era? Answer: Jane Austen. 408. Which two writers can be described as writing historical novels? Answer: Sir Walter Scott and Maria Edgeworth. 409. Looking to the ancient past, many romantic poets identified with the figure of the answer bard. 410. What did Byron decide with his scathing reference to peddlers and boats and wagons? Answer: Wordsworth's devotion to the ordinary and everyday life. 411. Wordsworth described all good poetry as the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. 412. Which poet asserted in practice and theory the value of representing rustic life and language as well as social outcasts and delinquents, not only in pastoral poetry common before this poet's time, but also as major subject medium for poetry in general? Answer is William Wordsworth. 413. Which of the following was a typically romantic means of achieving visionary states? Answer: opium dreams and childhood. 415. Which philosopher had a particular influence on Coleridge? Answer: Immanuel Kant. 415. Which of the following was not considered a type of the alienated romantic visionary? Answer: George III. 416. Who remained without the vote following the Reform Bill of 1832? Answer: about half of middle class men, almost all working class men, and all women. 417. Which of the following charges were commonly leveled at the novel by its detractors at the dawn of the Romantic era? Answer: too many of its readers were women. It required less skill than other genres. Also, it laid the classical pedigree of poetry and drama. And finally, too many of its authors were women. 418, which chilling novel of surveillance and entrapment had the alternative title Things as They Are? Answer William Godwin's Keller Williams. 419, which of the following is a typically romantic poetic form? Answer The Fragment. 420, who exemplified the role of the peasant poets? Answer John Killier and Robert Burns. 421, who in the Romantic period developed a new novelistic language for the workings of the mind in flux? Answer is Jane Austen. 422, which ruler's reign marks the approximate beginning and end of the Victorian era? Answer Queen Victoria. 423, which city became the perceived center of Western civilization by the middle of the 19th century? Answer Tokyo. 424, by 1890, what percentage of the Earth's population was subject to Queen Victoria? Answer 25%. 425, what did Thomas Carlyle mean by close thy Byron, open thy oaths? Answer, abandon the introspection of the romantics and turn to the higher moral purpose found in oaths. 426, to whom did the Reform Bill of 1832 extended the vote on parliamentary representation? Answer is the lower middle class. 427, Elizabeth Barrett's poem, The Cry of the Children, is concerned with which major issue attendant on the time of troubles during the 1830s and the 1840s? Answer is child labor. 428, who were the two nations referred to in the subtitle of Disraeli's Sibyl 1845? Answer, the rich and the poor. 429, which of the following novelist best represents the mid-Victorian period's contentment with the burgeoning economic prosperity and decreased restiveness over social and political change? Answer, Anthony Trollope. 430, which event did not occur as part of the rise of the British Empire under Queen Victoria? Answer, to save costs and maximize profits, the day-to-day government of India was transferred from Parliament to the private East India Company. 431, what does the phrase white man's burden coined by Kipling refer to? Answer, the moral responsibility to bring civilization and Christianity to the peoples of the world. 432, which of the following best defines utilitarianism? Answer, a moral arithmetic which states that all humans aim to maximize the largest pleasure to the greatest number. 433, which of the following discoveries, theories, and events contributed to the Victorian feelings of a uniquely special central species in the universe and more isolated? Answer, geology, evolution, and discoveries in astronomy about stellar distances. 434, which of the following contributed to the growing awareness in the late Victorian period of the immense human economic and political costs of running an empire? Answer, the India Mutiny in 1857, the Boer War in the south of Africa, and Jamaica Rebellion in 1865, and the Irish Question. 435, which of the following authors promoted versions of socialism? Answer, William Morris, John Ruskin, and Karl Marx. 436, which best describes the general feeling expressed in literature during the last decade of the Victorian era? Answer, studied melancholy and aestheticism. 437. Which of the following acts were not passed during the Victorian era? Answer: the Women's Suffrage Act. 438. Which contemporary discussions on women's rights did Tennyson's The Princess address? Answer: the need to enlarge and improve educational opportunities for women, resulting in the 439. Fill in the blanks from Tennyson's The Princess. Men for the field and women for the heath. Men for the sword and for the dash needle sheath. Men with the head and women with the heart. Men to command and women to obey. 440. What best describes the subject of most Victorian novels? Answer: the representation of a large and comprehensive social world in realistic detail, the attempt of a protagonist to define his or her place in society. 441. What was the relationship between Victorian poets and the Romantics? Answer: the Victorians were strongly influenced by the Romantics. 442. Experimentation. In which of the following areas of poetic expression characterize Victorian poetry and allow Victorian poets to represent psychology in a different way? Answer: the use of pictorial description to construct visual images to represent the emotion or situation as a means to express meaning and perspective as in the dramatic monologue. 443. What type of writing did Walter Pater define as the special and opportune art of the modern world? Answer: non-fiction prose. 444. What factors contributed to the increased popularity of non-fiction prose? Answer: a new market position for non-fiction writing and an exalted sense of the didactic function of the writer. 445. For what do Matthew Arnold's moral investment in non-fiction and Walter Pater's aesthetic investment together pave the way? Answer: modern literary criticism. 446. Which of the following comic playwrights made fun of Victorian values and pretensions? Answer: W.S. Gilbert and Arthur Sullivan, Oscar Wilde, and Robert Corrigan. 447. Which of the following phrases best characterizes the late 19th century aesthetic movement which widened the breach between artists and the reading public, sowing the seeds of modernism? Answer: art for art's sake. 448. What was the impact on literature of the Education Act of 1870, which made elementary schooling compulsory? Answer: the emergence of a mass literature population at home, a new mass produced literature could be directed. 449. Which text exemplifies the anti Victorianism prevalent in the early 20th century? Answer: eminent Victorians in the way of all flesh. 450. With which enormously influential perspective or practice is the early 20th century thinker Sigmund Freud associated? Answer: psychoanalysis. 451. Which thinker had a major impact on early 20th century writers, leading them to reimagine human identity in radically new ways? Answer: Sigmund Freud, Sir James Frazer, and Friedrich Nietzsche. 452. Which scientific or technological advance did not take place in the first 15 years of the 20th century? Answer: the creation of the internet. 453. Which best describes the images movement exemplified in the work of T.E. Hume and Ezra Pound? Answer: an effort to rid poetry of romantic fuzziness and facile emotionalism, replacing it with a precision and clarity of imagery. 454. What characteristics of 17th century metaphysical poetry sparked the enthusiasm of modernist poets and critics? Answer: its intellectual complexity and its union of thought and passion. 455. In the 1930s, younger writers such as W.H. Auden were more dash but less dash than older modernists such as Eliot and Pound. Answer: radical and inventive. 456. Which poet could be described as part of the movement of the 1950s? Answer: Thomgon and Philip Larkin. 457. Which British Dominion achieved independence in 1921 to 22 following the Easter Rising of 1916? Answer: the southern countries of Ireland. 458. Which phrase indicates the interior flow of thought employed in high modern literature? Answer: stream of consciousness. 459. Which of the following is not associated with high modernism in the novel? Answer: narrative realism. 460. Which novel did T.S. Eliot praise for utilizing a new mythical period mythical method in place of the old narrative method, and demonstrates the use of ancient mythology and modernist fiction to think about making the modern world possible for art? Answer: James Joyce Ulysses. 461. Who wrote the dystopian novel 19th Century 1984, in which Newspeak demonstrates the heightened linguistic self consciousness of modernist writers? Answer is George Orwell. 462. Which of the following novels display post war nostalgia for past imperial glory? Answer: Paul Scott's Staying On. 463. When was the ban finally lifted on D.H. Lawrence's novel Lady Chatterley's Lover, written in 1920? Uh, Written in 1960. Answer is 1960. So, written in 1928, it was banned, and then the ban was lifted in 1960. So 464. Which of the following was originally Irish literary theatre? Answer: the Irish National Theatre or the Abbey Theatre. 465. What did T.S. Eliot attempt to combine, though not very successfully, in his plays Murder in the Cathedral and The Cocktail Party? Answer: religious symbolism and society comedy. 466. How did one critic sum up Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot? Answer: nothing happens twice. 467. What even allowed mainstream theatre companies to commission and perform work that was politically, socially, and sexually controversial without fear of censorship? Answer: the abolition of the Lord Chamberlain's office in 1968. 468. Which of the following has been a significant development in British theatre since the abolition of censorship in 1968? Answer: the rise of workshops and the collaborative ethos, as well as the emergence of a major cohort of women dramatists, and finally, the diversifying impact of playwright from the former colonies. 469. What did Henry James describe as loose baggy monsters? Answer: novels. 470. The subjugation of women 1869 is an important text of? Answer: John Mill. 471. Which of the following poems by Tennyson is a monodrama? Answer is Maud. 472. The line she dwells with beauty, beauty that must be occurs in Keats. Answer Ode on Melancholy. 473. Negative capability to Keats means to emphasize. 474. Art for art's sake found its true adherent in. Answer Oscar Wilde. 475. It is the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the worst, the opening of Dickens. Answer A Tale of Two Cities. 476. The character of Little Neil is a creation of answer Dickens. 477. Idylls of the King is illustration of Tennyson's deep interest in answer the role of the king. 478. Who believed that poetry is a spontaneous overflow of emotions or powerful feelings? Wordsworth. 479. Who, after the publication of poem, awoke and found himself famous? Answer is Wordsworth. 480. The image of the femme fatale dominates the poetry of answer is Keats. 481. Little Time is a character in Hardy's answer Youth the Obscure. 482. Which is the famous elegy written by Shelley? Answer Adonis in the memory of John Keats. 483. The moral choice is everything in the works of answer is Dickens. 484. Which of the following is illustrative of Ruskin's interest in social economy? Answer Unto This Lost. 485. Which one of the following poets named the romantic poet is the pond poets? Answer Southey. 486. The charge of the Light Brigade, Tennyson, commemorates answer the Crimean War. 487. The Elgin marbles inspired Keats to write. Answer the Grecian. 488. Would you tell Sordello Browning is a answer dramatic lyrics. 489. Which of the following poets was appointed poet laureate in the year 1813? Answer Southey. 490. Shakespeare's Hamlet is a tragedy. 491. Who had written Old Men in the Sea? Answer Ernest Hemingway, one of my best novels, a very favorite novel. 492. Who wrote Gulliver's Travels? Answer Jonathan Swift. 493. Which of the following is not a dramatist? Answer is Byron. 494. Which of the following is not a play by Shakespeare? Answer is Dr. Faustus. 495. E.M. Foster is a answer is novelist. 496. The Pickwick Papers is a novel by answer is Charles Dickens. 497. Who wrote Jane Eyre? Answer is Charlotte Bronte. 498. After whom is the Elizabethan age named? Answer Elizabeth I. 499. What is the name of Wordsworth's long poem? Answer the Prelude. 500. A poem mourning someone's death is called elegy. So that's all for today's session. Till the next session, it's goodbye. Have a very nice time. So before saying you goodbye, I have a very polite request that please do subscribe our channel and also share it with your friends so that your friends may also take benefit of it, and by subscribing you will be able to see and watch our further videos. So that's all for today. Have a nice time. It's goodbye.